It's late. The street lamps are dim, offering you no light through the thick fog on the street. You pull your coat tighter as you hurry along the cobblestones. Then you hear it. Footsteps.
They're not yours.
You glance back. Nothing. Just darkness and shadows. You keep walking.
Footsteps keep pace with you.
And then,
they're gone.
This week, we're going back over a century to a city gripped by fear and mystery.
Where a series of crimes shock the world and remain unsolved to this day.
This is Killer Hangover Podcast. Hello, and welcome to episode 7, season 2 of Killer Hangover. I'm Beth, and I'm about to take you through some chilling crime scenes, introduce you to some victims, and give you a pretty creepy timeline.
And I'm Bettina. I will lead the chat on the suspects. Some of them, well, pretty plausible, and the others are like, really?
On this episode, we're talking about a very famous serial killer. Actually, I'd say he's the most notorious serial killer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can't believe it's actually taken us this long to talk about him. His name, the Whitechapel Murderer.
Otherwise known as?
Do you know him? I mean, okay, maybe the East End Monster. The nemesis of neglect.
The
Fiend?
He is a fiend.
Okay. Jack the Ripper.
That's how I know him.
Again, I'm going to cover the crimes, the victims, and the timeline. And Mom's going to swoop in with the wild, the weird, and maybe plausible theories about Jack the Ripper. But before we walk you through the autumn of terror,
Yes.
you must grab a drink.
Yes, and tonight we have the Whitechapel Fog. This is a smoky gin-forward cocktail with a deep red tint. Yes, It is very red.
Very deep red.
This says it's only supposed to be a hint of red, but ours is very red.
Very red.
Like London fog with a dangerous undertone. Okay, I doubled the recipe because I was making it for both of us. But if you're just making one, it is 2 ounces of London dry gin or any kind of gin that you have. 5 ounces of sweet vermouth. We did not have sweet. We had dry. Use that. Okay, and then it calls for 5 ounces of cherry herring. Okay, now the herring is the only fish. I mean, I love herring, but it doesn't ever have cherry in it. But anyway.
It's a brandy. It's a cherry brandy.
There you go. But it's for the deep red color. Mm-hmm. And then 25 ounces of fresh lemon juice, 2 dashes of bitters, and an optional thing is drop or 2 of absinthe for the Victorian authenticity.
Authenticity.
Garnish with brandied cherry or a thin slice of lemon.
She did put cherries in there.
I did put 2.
You did.
I did. Okay, you fill a mixing glass with ice. I used a regular shaker, but I didn't shake. I stirred. Add the gin, vermouth, cherry if you happen to have it, brandy, lemon juice, bitters, and absinthe if you're using it. Stir until well chilled, about 20 to 25 seconds. I did not count my seconds.
Oh, no, it's ruined.
Strain into a chilled coupe glass and garnish with the brandied cherry for a drop of blood. Or a lemon twist. Okay. There you go. I'm kind of nervous. This is like...
too. You didn't try it?
No, I didn't try it.
No.
This is like straight alcohol.
Cheers.
Cheers, kiddo.
I will be sipping this. Smells like cherry, tastes like cherry.
Does it? Yeah, it does
Very.
have a little cherry taste.
I
And
mean, we were stained blue last time. I think I'm going to be stained purple. So my teeth are looking pretty
I mean,
funky.
I really like gin martinis, so this is not bad.
No, it's not bad. It's going to be an easy sip.
Sip is right.
Sip is right.
Oh my gosh, it's got legs on it.
What does that mean? Oh,
It's like wine.
is that because there's so much alcohol in it?
I don't know.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Interesting.
So before we jump into Jack the Ripper, we have to take a drink because I had a very momentous, mom, yes,
Yes.
occasion today. Very exciting occasion today. My 9-year-old called me cringe singing in the car on the way home from school. I got called cringe.
You
I
are
am
so,
officially a mom.
you're so cool. You're so cool.
Sorry about that. I thought I heard footsteps above us, meaning children were awake, but it literally, I think, is just the wind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's super windy right now, which is really, it's been overcast and rainy and
Oh,
windy, and it's very much setting the tone for tonight's podcast.
for our London fog.
I'm
Yeah.
telling you, this season, everything's
Right
been
in
lining
line.
up. I mean, even the weather is right on cue.
I didn't ask for it though.
Okay, so warning about this episode, it's pretty graphic.
Ugh.
I cut back. I'm not going to obviously include absolutely everything but I'm also not going to be like the London papers and not include anything and sugarcoat things because that's not that's not right either.
You know, I honestly, I think I got the sugar-coated version of Jack the Ripper my whole life. I knew it
Same.
was a terrible crime and that he
Did
killed
we though? Did
killed
we know?
5 women. I
Yes,
knew
exactly.
that, but because we had to do research into this, I'm just like, OMG. This is horrible.
No, and mom can vouch when we signed up to do Jack the Ripper, I was kind of like, I guess we should. I guess we should. It's just been done so many times. And I feel horrible for saying this, but I was like, only 5 victims?
I kind of did too because
Because I
it's
was like,
such a
we've
big
covered
name.
so many other serial killers with higher numbers to them. So I was just like, "Ugh, really? And then he's such a big deal. Like, why? I know why
Yeah,
now.
so do I. Hmm.
So please don't roll your faces at us and think, oh, here, Jack the Ripper. I guess I'll just tune in for a little bit. I'm hoping you take away something new. I'm hoping, I don't know.
I learned so many
I
things
learned so many things.
as
I tried to minimize it and I was telling mom about it and I was like, okay, yeah, this will make a good episode. But then I kept second guessing myself. So I was like, okay, mom, I'm going to sit down tonight and edit some of this. And I added like a whole other 3 pages. So another long episode for you guys. You're welcome or sorry, whichever one you want to take. Okay, are we ready to dive in?
we are.
Whew. Let's dive in into the fog, into the alleys, and into the trauma. This year is 1888. London is booming. The Industrial Revolution is in full swing. People are inventing the telephone, the typewriter, the bizarre medical treatments involving cocaine and leeches, which honestly still sounds more effective than some modern healthcare plans today. But while the upper classes are sipping tea, the East End of London, specifically Whitechapel, is a Dickens nightmare. Overcrowded, underlit, underpoliced, and smelling like a sewer married a dead fish and had garbage babies. Basically, it's
Oh,
the perfect setting for a horror story.
well, you described that one real well.
Thank you. By the late 19th century, Whitechapel was one of London's poorest districts. Thousands of people were crammed into few filthy streets. Families of 6 or 8 shared a single room. The air was thick with coal smoke, beer, sweat, and sickness. At night, the fog rolled in so heavy and yellow it mixed with smoke from factories and gas lamps until you could barely see your own hand in front of your face. Police reports described some alleys where officers had to grope their way along the walls just to stay oriented.
Oh my gosh.
It was so dark, so narrow, that even the police were ordered to patrol in pairs because going in certain areas, because going alone was basically asking to get mugged, stabbed, or worse. So keep that in mind, how dark this is as we tell the story.
And
Like,
see, even that picture that you just painted is so different from like the documentaries and stuff that I've seen.
it's very Dickens, right?
I mean, it's just like the cobblestones are clean and
No,
and it's not
this
like
was
that at all.
horrible. This area was absolutely horrible. So here's a really eerie thing, too. Seeing somebody covered in blood was not unusual. Okay. So keep that in mind, too. There were slaughterhouses, butchers, tanneries scattered all over the East End. Men walked home splattered from their shifts, hauling knives, aprons, and animal guts, and nobody looked twice. That's,
Lovely.
yes. Add that to the mind your business attitude that kept people alive. You saw something strange, you just kept walking. Whitechapel was dangerous, and asking questions got you hurt. Now, before we get the victims, you have to understand what home meant in Whitechapel. Spoiler, it's not cozy. If you were poor in 1888 London, you basically had you would have to move to Whitechapel. That would be one of the options for you. And you basically had three options for shelter. None of them were great.
Good.
Option one is the workhouse. It was technically free, but it came at a cost. Your dignity. It's honestly like reading about these workhouses was you're like a cellmate. You're separated from your family, even you're separated from your children. They're keeping, I mean, this wasn't verbalized, but they're basically keeping you away from your family so you don't make more poor people,
Oh,
essentially. It's government run institutions where you got food and a bed, but you're separated from your family. You're made to wear uniforms. You're first forced into hard labor. One of the victims, I'll go into detail about, but one of her jobs was to literally untangle ship ropes and then take those little, and then find those little pieces to
oh
make
my.
things out of. Her hands would just be, I mean, their hands
Oh,
would just be
there's
bone. Like you're
oh,
working to the bone for a bed. Okay. It's like prison with, it's horrible. People would say, I'll die in the street before I go into a workhouse. That was like their last, the last thing they wanted to do. A lot of them meant it. Option two was the common lodging house, also called a DOS house. Think of it like an 1880s version of a hostel from hell. So there's just beds. You're not getting your own room.
no.
It's just beds. You're not getting new sheets or a new mattress or a clean space. It is a flea-ridden, cockroach-infested bed that you get to just close your eyes on. Like, and it costs money to do that every night. And then they kick you out in the morning and you can't come back. You're not saving a bed for you. You can't come back until the next night where you have your 4 shillings for that cockroach infested bed.
And I'm sure it wasn't safe either.
No, no. You paid by the night, usually 4 pence for a bed, 2 pence for a lean-to seat if you couldn't afford the full amount. And those would fill up pretty quickly as basically a bench. The rooms were crowded, dark, and noisy. Dozens of strangers packed together, coughing, snoring, arguing. Privacy did not exist. Children? I mean, yes. If you couldn't scrape together the 4 pence, you slept outside or on the floor until you're kicked out, and officers would go around kicking people awake. You can't sleep here. Like, get out of here.
Oh my gosh.
Some lodging houses were so packed the owners charged 2 penny hangovers. Okay. Literally a rope strung across the room that the men would lean over to sleep standing up on. Yep. You paid to nap on a rope. And this is where people think the word hangover came from.
Oh my gosh.
Welcome to Killer Hangover.
I've never heard that.
Uh-huh. They would string a rope in the middle of the room, and the men, because I hate to say it, but most were drunk, and they'd come and just hang over the rope to sleep.
Wow.
Yeah. Yes. It's crazy. Option 3 was a single rented room, and you were pretty lucky if you got this. One of the victims, she was able to rent a small room with her partner for about 4 shillings a week,
Oh,
but it's one little room with one little bed. They had a fireplace, but these are hard to come by, and you had to maintain that payment. And you had to keep a cleaner lifestyle, I would assume.
wait. So the other place charged 4 shillings
Hmm.
for a night for or
Four pence,
for pence
because it's
for.
4 shillings a
Oh,
week.
okay. Okay.
Hmm.
Sorry.
So anyway, very small, but it did mean privacy. It did mean warmth, and it
Yeah.
did mean safety, or at least
If
the
you had
illusion
the
of
money,
it.
right?
Hmm. So when we talk about the victims going out to, quote, get their DOS money, that was life or death, essentially. It wasn't greed, it wasn't recklessness, it was survival. And to survive, and here's the very hard truth, for many women in Whitechapel, sex work wasn't a profession, it was a necessity.
Hmm.
And when the night came and you didn't have your 4 pence for a bed, you went out to, quote, earn your DOS money because you wanted to go sleep in a bed. Now, that's literally what you call survival work. There's not brothels. That's not a thing. Not here in Whitechapel. This, they work the streets. Brothels existed, sure, but not in this
Okay.
area. These women were too poor for that system,
Oh,
essentially. So they worked the streets, literally the streets. You don't have a bed to take your John back
customer
to.
too. Yeah.
You are dark corners, backyards, doorways. You do the deed and you get your coins for lodging, you get your DOS money, and you go on your way. Now, there's this heartbreaking pattern in all of the records. Every one of the Ripper's victims had said something like, quote, I just need to get my DOS money. They were not out for adventure. They were trying to buy a few hours of safety and sleep. And remember, these streets were pitch dark, barely lit by gas lamps, fog rolling in so thick you could lose sight of someone 3 steps ahead of you. You can imagine how vulnerable that made them. Men could vanish into the fog without a trace. Even if someone saw something, though, the unwritten rule was still
Don't say
mind your
anything.
business. So, Whitechapel. It was a place where death and survival lived side by side, the perfect hunting ground for a killer who could disappear into the fog. And he did. I am going to now introduce you to the victims. Our first victim, Mary Ann Nichols, or went by Polly to her friends. She was born on August 26th, 1845, in London. She married young, had 5 children, and lived the working class Victorian life long hours, little money, constant pressure. By 1888, she was really in a rough place. Life was hard. At a time, the family moved into a tenement house, and an older woman and her daughter, Rosetta, Rosetta had just recently separated from her husband and had moved in with her mom. They shared a space with this family, and Rosetta would help with the children so that
Okay.
Polly could get some work. She was pregnant at the time, but she could sew and get some work while her husband went to work. It takes a village, right? So, but then Polly starts to suspect infidelity between her husband and Rosetta.
Rosetta. Oh no.
So the drinking begins, and then the fighting. And Polly would leave at times to go cool off, and she'd go and live with her dad sometimes for a short amount of time. Then she'd go back, and the cycle would start again. Then one day, she left. She left all of her children. She just left to go live on the streets of Whitechapel. But who am I to judge? That sounds horrible. When I was reading this, I was like, you just left your kids? Like, just because you suspected your husband was cheating? But I don't live in this time, in this place. You heard how hard this life was, and then you don't even have your partner to live it with who you think you could lean
And we
on.
don't know what really was
We,
going on. I
no,
mean,
no. So she leaves. And yes, her husband did end up having children and marrying Rosetta later on. So it was, she should, yeah. So her suspicions were correct. Anyway, long story short, they're separated and she's out on the streets on her own, living hand to mouth. 4 pence for a bed often meant the difference between shelter or the streets. She was last seen alive around 2:30 a.m. Her friend Emily Holland saw Polly walking east on Whitechapel Road, slightly drunk but cheerful, showing off her new black velvet bonnet. Quote, "I'll soon get my DOS money," she said. Nearby, someone noticed a man in a dark coat and peaked cap, broad-shouldered, but no one caught his face. At 3:40 a.m., Carmen Charles Cross found what he thought was a tarp on Buck's Row. It's never a tarp, people.
No.
It's not a tarp. Never a mannequin. I cannot drive by a black trash bag on the side of the road without considering what may be in it.
Can't either. How morbid are we?
And if I see one like in the middle of the road, I have to drive around it. Like, oh my God, I can't run over whatever could be in that. Like, it, yeah, I know that's pretty dark. This was Polly. Her throat had been cut twice and her abdomen slashed open with deliberate, steady cuts. The attacker had worked quickly, but with purpose, leaving no sign of struggle. Quote, and this is from the East London Advertiser, "The wounds were of a most shocking character," unquote. And that's as far as they went with her. So I have a little more information for you. I'm so sorry, but I think it needs to be shared, honestly. So I have here, this is from a closer look at the victim's wounds, courtesy of Casebook Productions, and it is a little descriptive, but she was found. Oh, my notes backwards. There we go. Polly was laying lengthwise with her head turned towards the east. Her left hand touched the gate. Her bonnet was lying near her right hand, that velvet bonnet that she had, that she was going to sell, hopefully. And yeah. Her skirts were rumpled just above the knees. Her throat was severely cut. Her eyes were wide open and glassy. Blood had oozed from her throat wounds. Her arms felt warm from the elbows up. Her hands were open. The gateway was 9 to 10 feet high and led to some stables, and they were closed. So that's how she was found. Okay. Here is post-mortem. This is what they discovered. So her throat was cut from left to right, with 2 distinct cuts being on the left side, and it cut the windpipe, gullet, and spinal cord being cut through. A bruise, possibly from a thumb, was on the lower right jaw. And when Mom goes over theories and everything, these are things that why I am sharing them is because they do go hand in hand with a few theories that we read, especially the thumb one. I heard something today on something I was watching and I was like, oh my gosh, that's fascinating. Anyway, lower right jaw with another on the left cheek. So she had been bruised pretty heavily on her face. The abdomen had been cut open with center of the bottom ribs along the right side. Under the pelvis, left of the stomach, was another wound, jagged. So these aren't just like stabs.
No, it's deliberate.
It's deliberate cutting into her. The knife seemed to have been strong bladed. There's another thing to keep in mind is this knife is incredibly sharp. It's cutting through fabric.
As well as muscle and
body, yes. But it's cutting through fabric and just slicing through it. There's no like, yeah. Yeah, so severing all tissues down to the spine, including the large vessels of the neck on both sides. No blood found on the breast of clothes or on body. On the lower part of abdomen, she was cut 2 to 3 inches from the left side, ran a very deep, jagged wound, cutting the tissues through. Several incisions ran across the abdomen. 3 or 4 similar cuts ran down the right side of the abdomen.
So if not that much blood was found on her, except for, of course, higher, she was dead when they did all this. But most likely, if they didn't find a lot of blood on her chest and stuff, she was already dead when they did the incision.
Yes. Most of the victims, all of the victims, had their throats cut so deep that their windpipes were cut. And they think that that was done first so that they couldn't scream. And essentially that killed them right away. And all of these other wounds, as horrific as they are, were all done post mortem.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
they were already deceased, so they didn't have to live through this. That, I mean, if you can find one good thing, I guess. Oh boy. Okay, that was Polly. Next, I'm going to talk about victim number 2, Annie Chapman. Annie was born Eliza Ann Smith in 1840. She once lived a modest, stable life. Her father, George Smith, was a soldier in the Life Guards, a prestigious cavalry regiment. So they were with royalty. I mean, they lived very nicely. But he struggled with alcoholism and later took his own life.
Ugh.
Annie grew up with just enough structure to dream of stability. She'd seen it, and then it was taken from her. So she just never could get enough money to ever get that back.
Reach that. Yeah.
Her father's suicide cast a shadow over the family, and the pattern of alcohol and loss followed her for the rest of her life. She ended up marrying John Chapman, a coachman employed by a wealthy family in Windsor. They had 3 children. Their early lives were stable. They lived in a nice house on Windsor Mews, there on the property. They had access to the servants' quarters. They were doing pretty well. But tragedy hit, and one child died of meningitis, and their son, John Jr., was left permanently disabled after an accident.
Oh no.
Losing a child changes everything, and for Annie, it triggered a spiral. Both she and John started drinking very heavily.
Both of them.
At first, it was gin to numb the grief, then gin became the grief. By 1884, her husband's employers dismissed him for because of his drinking, and the couple separated soon after. John continued to send her 10 shillings a week. That was kind of mandatory after separation back then, enough to survive.
What about the children? She still had 2 children.
They were not with her. She went to, her drinking was really bad too. And he ended up getting another job, another pretty nice job, and then with housing in another nicer area, very similar to the one he got let go from. And her sisters, because she came from a family that had something, they want the best for their sister. So they sent her to a kind of a rehab. It was a voluntary center for alcoholism for people. So she did go there to get some help. And she came back and moved back in with John and the children. And that family that John was working for, they were kind of questioning, like, oh, is she okay? Like, I don't know about this. And she ended up getting pregnant again. And she started drinking again.
Ugh.
Really heavily. And John, I'm pretty sure John kicked her out and just said, I can't have this. I can't have you ruining another job for me. We have to have some kind of stability. And I'm pretty sure that's how that happened. So the children had to have stayed with John.
While she was pregnant?
Yes.
Oh no.
Yes. Okay. So, eventually, John dies of liver failure on Christmas Day in 1886, and her income stopped overnight. Imagine that. Your husband dies. Your children are gone. Your only income disappears. You're 46 years old. She has no job, no family to fall back on. She had nowhere to go but down.
Down to Whitechapel.
Exactly. She started lodging at different houses on Dorset Street, and this is a pretty dangerous street. That's kind of, unfortunately, where she found herself. She earned pennies doing crochet work and selling flowers or matches on the street. She occasionally cleaned rooms for money, but it wasn't enough to live on. When she drank, she could be loud or argumentative, earning the nickname Dark Annie. She got into a few fights. Actually, a lot of bruises found on her postmortem were actually from
the fights,
not from, they were days old, not recent. So yeah. But when she was sober, People described her as kind, polite, and motherly to younger women. Annie wasn't wild or reckless. She was just tired. She was tired of begging, tired of fighting her body, tired of being invisible. She suffered from tuberculosis and venereal disease and was often sick, often very sick. On September 7th, the day before she was murdered, she was seen looking weak and complaining she was too ill to do anything. Um, yeah, it was hard times. So the morning of September 8th, 1888, around 1:30 in the morning, she was seen leaving her lodging house at 35 Dorset Street, telling the deputy, "I haven't got my DOS money, but don't let the bed. I'll soon be back."
Okay.
Between 5:20 and 5:30, Elizabeth Long saw her outside 29 Hanbury Street talking to a man. Quote, a little taller than her, dark hair, foreign looking, wearing a brown felt hat and dark coat. He carried a small package wrapped in paper. Maybe food, maybe tools, I don't know. Another lodger, Albert Kadosh, heard a thud against the fence in the yard and a woman's voice say, no.
Hmm.
And I don't know. You hear a thud, you're curious enough to
Look out your window or whatever.
exactly. You hear a woman saying no, so again, that's just the mindset. You just mind your business.
Yeah.
Isn't that horrible?
No, it is. And we don't know what tone she used either.
Right.
I mean,
Sure.
she was probably so weak too.
At 6 a.m., resident John Davis found her in the yard. Her throat cut to the spine, her body carefully arranged, organs removed with the surgeon's calm. 2 cheap brass rings she had pawned earlier that week lay beside her, as though the killer had placed them there on purpose.
Oh, no.
The coroner remarked that whoever did this worked with, quote, knowledge and deliberation, unquote. Annie's murder changed everything. It wasn't frenzy anymore. It was a ritual. Whitechapel realized it wasn't dealing with random violence, it was dealing with someone hunting. Even seasoned officers said the scene looked deliberate rather than frenzied. It's very clean.
It's interesting to me that they picked up on that after only the second murder because they're picking up bodies off the street. It isn't unusual to find,
Right.
I mean, there's stabbings and everything else going on all the time. So it's interesting to me that they picked up on, I don't know, a serial killer after only the second death.
So, this is the canonical 5. That's what they call these 5 victims. And there is quite the discussion that there were others before and a couple after. That would be a whole other episode here. I don't know. I'm even these canonical 5, the one I'm not even kind of question, honestly.
Really?
But and
Okay,
then,
what does canonical mean?
I don't know.
I had to look it up.
Thank you.
And I knew you wouldn't know.
What does it mean? I probably should have looked it up. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's canonical work is conforming to rules and patterns.
Okay. Well,
That makes sense.
yeah. Well, okay, so I think what sets these 2 apart, though, and why they could connect them the way that they did was because they were both so clean. These aren't just some frenzied
Stabbings.
where I that's how different these looked. It was very
I'm
methodical.
sorry, so I missed the dates. How much space is there between the 2?
Let's see. She was found September 8th, and Polly was found on August 31st. And that's another thing when you look at the murders, the 8th and the 30th, around those dates were when all of these killings.
Really?
took
Okay.
place.
Okay.
And so between the 4th and the 5th, there was a very large gap between the 4th killing and the 5th killing. And the people hung on like, oh my gosh, it's the 8th. Oh my gosh, it's the 30th. And he didn't do anything. So they kind of like let their guards down a little bit
Mm.
more. So I just, I don't know if that was just happenstance that those were the dates or what. I honestly don't know how this freak thought. Locals whispered about a man in a dark coat, a glint of metal in a fog. Newspapers started using names like Leather Apron, the Whitechapel murderer. And yet life went on. Butchers and slaughtermen walked home from work, still speckled with blood. No one looked twice. They know
But it
about
has
this,
to.
but
Life has to go on.
exactly, they still need to make 4 pence for their bed.
They need to survive.
Yes. The streets were so dark that people joked you could shake hands and never see who you were talking to.
Oh my gosh.
Everyone minded their own business because in Whitechapel, curiosity would get you killed. Then came the night of September 30th, 1888, the double event. And I just have to point out here, Mother, that one of them is named Elizabeth and the other one is named Catherine.
I know.
Did you pick that up?
Yes.
For the double event? Wow. That's my sister's name, and my name's obviously Elizabeth. So
With a C, too.
with a C, I know. Weirdo. You did that on purpose.
No. Oh, gross. That would be terrible. They, my children, after Jack the Ripper victims. Oh my
That would be
gosh.
terrible. I take it back. That was a bad joke. Okay, the double event. Elizabeth Long Liz was what they kind of called her, Stride. At about 12:45 a.m., a Hungarian witness named Israel Schwartz saw a woman struggling with a man near Berner Street. The man was about 30, broad-shouldered, wearing a dark overcoat and a peaked cap. Schwartz crossed, is it peaked or peaked? It's peaked, isn't it?
How's it spelled?
I've heard it pronounced both ways, but I don't. It's spelled peaked, but I think it's peaked. But you picture Jack the Ripper, you picture this hat. Like,
Okay.
you know what I'm talking about.
But a lot of people wore hats like that.
Exactly.
So,
There
and
were
they
a
wore
lot of
dark
men in dark overcoats and hats.
Yes,
Let's
it was
be
not
real.
unusual. That is
No.
not a good description.
No, no. And it's dark. So you're wearing a dark coat. How do you know? Was it blue? Was it gray? Was it black? You don't know. Schwartz crossed the street to avoid them. Moments later, the man threw the woman to the ground. 15 minutes later, another man, carman, named Louis Diemschutz, turned his pony cart into Dutfield's yard and found her body. Blood still pooled beneath her throat. Okay, this is Elizabeth Stride Longliz. She was born Elizabeth Gustaf's daughter in 1843 in rural Sweden. She'd grown up poor in a Lutheran farming family. Her childhood was hard labor and little education. She worked as a servant before moving to Gothenburg. Records there show she'd once been registered as a prostitute. This was actually a legal status at the time. So it didn't make prostitution, that's what they called it, legal by any means, but it kept track of them. And for like medical reasons too, like to keep order. So that's what they did there. So she was registered there. So even before she came to London, Elizabeth knew what survival meant. She had been through this. Unfortunately, she'd already lived through poverty, illness, and social judgment long before she even stepped into Whitechapel.
She wasn't very old.
All of these women were in their 40s.
Oh, they were.
Except for the last one.
Oh,
The last one was 25.
Isn't that interesting, though, too? That these aren't young.
When we get to the last one, I have my theories, my ideas of why.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe this is an Israel Keys thing, and he just took a certain. I don't think maybe there wasn't a plan. Maybe it's just right, wrong place, wrong time. I don't know, because there is no pattern when it comes to that.
The picking the women.
No. But the first four they're in their 40s.
Okay.
In 1866, she moved to London, married a Swedish carpenter named John Stride, and they ran a small coffee house in Popular. But the coffee houses, and yes, I say houses because I think there is three. They ended up, Um, they tried and failed, I think, three
Oh,
times. It just didn't work. He was working as a carpenter during the day, and then she was to stay and man the coffee house, but would slip off for a drink or two.
oh
It
no.
wasn't, yeah. Marriage suffered, and by the 1880s, she was drifting between lodging houses, cleaning rooms, and doing sewing when she could. She later claimed okay, there was a steamboat collision on the Thames River. The Princess Alice is what the steamboat was called, and it killed over 600 people.
Oh, oh my gosh.
And after this happened, she was kind of walking around claiming that her husband and her children drowned.
For sympathy.
I don't I don't know, maybe for sympathy, maybe to see if she'd get some money for it because
Hmm.
victims' families were getting
Oh,
subsidized,
okay.
getting
Well,
some,
that's what I meant for sympathy. People would feel sorry for her and give her money.
yeah, and explain her single status too. Maybe she was trying to explain why she was single at this point because they separated and maybe she was ashamed of that. I don't know why she told such a fib, but she told this fib not just once, twice. I mean, for years she was telling this fib.
How many people do that? I mean, there's a
Oh,
lot
oh
of
yeah.
people who try to bank on horrible
It's
tragedies.
really heartbreaking. It's almost like she was rewriting her life to maybe
Maybe
make
eventually she really
excuses.
thought that
Yeah, to
that's what
kind of
happened.
I'm living the way I am because of this. Like I had such a traumatic experience and this is why. It's horribly sad. This was false, of course, though John Stride was still alive. They never had children. And historians, like I said, believe that she may have invented the story to gain sympathy. After separating from her husband, Liz lived in a series of lodging houses, often on Flower and Dean Street. Such beautiful streets, isn't it? I'm beautiful. No.
Not
This was actually the same street that Mary Ann Nichols had stayed at.
okay.
That's where her Doss house was. She supported herself through sewing, cleaning, and sex work when she couldn't find steady jobs. She spoke fluent Swedish and some German, and occasionally Vidished, visited the Swedish church in Princess Square seeking charity. Those who knew her described her as neat, well spoken, and sometimes dramatic. She tells sad stories about her lost husband and dead children,
Wow.
trying to gain pity and maybe a free meal. On the final night, she had been cleaning rooms at 32 Flower and Dean Street earlier in the day. Witnesses saw her later outside the Bricklayers Arms pub with a man in a hard felt hat and dark coat speaking quietly.
Oh, a different hat this time.
Others saw her kissing a man in a sailor's cap near Burner Street.
Real different this time.
So, but I mean, it's not uncommon for them to seek multiple.
Mhm.
Yes. Um, let's see. The descriptions blur together dark coats, mustaches, caps, the uniform of every working man in Whitechapel. I
Mhm.
mean, it. And how do they know it's her? That's another thing I
They
wanted to.
can't see, and I would assume most of the women kind of look.
I mean, I know they know each other because they drink together, they work together. There was some camaraderie between these women. Um,
But again, the fog is so dense, and they're not right up there.
so how do you know unless like well, Elizabeth is with a man with in a sailor's hat, or Elizabeth is with a man and he didn't have a hat. Like I don't know. I couldn't see the hat.
They didn't have a
I
hat.
don't know. When she was found, her throat had been slashed cleanly, but there were no mutilations.
Oh.
It was as if the killer had been interrupted mid-act. Remember? She
Oh.
was on the street. She'd been thrown down by some man. They were in some kind of an argument.
Oh, this was her. Okay.
Hmm.
Okay.
And that name, I can't, that last name, Diemschutz arrival,
Yeah,
maybe
because
that
she was
scared
still
him.
warm. Her blood was still
Hmm.
coming out. So maybe he
It's
did get
literally as if
interrupted.
he had been interrupted
Interrupted.
mid-act.
Yeah.
Now, this is the one I'm not sure of.
Mm.
I I'm just not sure. I mean, there are people out there, but I can't ever pronounce it. It's called Ripperologists.
Yes.
Yes. I mean, there's even a ripperologist magazine. Like it's a thing.
Oh, it's a
These
big thing.
people study this.
Mm-hmm.
That's their life's work. And they're probably laughing at this podcast now. Not even
Oh, you
too
lowly,
on that.
you lowly, lowly people.
You're missing all of the story. Probably. What was I saying with this? Oh, they have obviously put her in this group of five, though.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And she's been in this group of five for a very long time. So,
And the police did too,
oh yeah, they call it
initially.
the double events evening.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. So between the time that that man saw the fight going down in the middle of the street, 15 minutes later is when Liz was found inside the gate. Again, her throat cut cleanly with a single deep slice. And again, this is what makes Liz different. It's like someone hit pause in the middle of the murder. No mutilation, no staging, just one clean, brutal cut. So some historians agree with me. And I don't know, maybe she wasn't his intended victim. Maybe,
I think he got interrupted.
yeah.
And thus, two victims in one
And
night.
he had to flee before finishing. Yeah. I don't know. Because Catherine Eddowes was killed less than an hour later.
Mm-hmm.
About 45 minutes later, across the city boundary, he struck again. And this is Catherine Eddowes. She was born in 1842 in Wolverhampton, one of 12 children. Orphaned young, shuffled through workhouses, she grew up clever and strong-willed. In her teens, she met Thomas Conway, a former soldier, and for 20 years they wandered England together, selling chapbooks and ballads, cheap songs printed on paper. Catherine could read and write. She even composed verses of her own.
Wow. She was educated then.
Yes. They had 3 children, drank too much, fought constantly, and eventually split. So I guess there's the pattern between these women. But I'm sure
But how
that
many
means a lot.
how many hundreds of other
Yes.
women in Whitechapel that was the pattern?
You're
Yeah.
you're at I mean, you are just at a rock and a hard place once you get to Whitechapel.
I'd say you were as low as you
When
can
you hear
go.
Whitechapel, I just do not think. Anyway, sorry. They named that incorrectly. Okay, let's see. She had a tattoo on her arm, TC for Thomas Conway.
Hmm?
And I put that in here because I didn't think about tattoos. I mean, I understand different cultures did them and everything, but I
And
don't know.
especially on women, because sailors would
Exactly.
have them,
Exactly.
you know, but
But she had tattoo TC on her. I thought that was.
well, they did travel. They probably had a more bohemian style life.
Yeah. It's even in Heartbreak, I guess it was memorialized because she had that tattooed on her arm. By 1888, she was living with a man named John Kelly at 55 Flower and Dean Street. Flower and Dean Street. Doing day labor and occasional street work to survive. That September, she and Kelly had gone hop picking in Kent, seasonal work that brought in a few pounds. But by the 29th, their money was gone. She pawned her boots and promised Kelly she'd earn them back. That night, around 8:30, she was arrested for drunkenness after singing loudly and mocking the police.
Well, she's just singing her ballads that she wrote.
Sorry. She's just, having a good time. They threw her in a cell to sleep it off. And at 1 a.m., she sobered up. The constable released her later. The constable who released her later said she smiled and called out, "Good night, old cock." Oh.
And they sent her out in the streets at 1.
Well, that's the other thing about all of these stories. Notice, like, they're going out for their DOS money at 3 a.m.
But they get kicked out in the morning.
I know. That's my point. That's why I was like, let's wait for mom's realization here. Come daybreak, I mean, they're kicked out. By 1:35 a.m., she was seen talking to a man near Church Passage, just off Mitre Square. He was described as about 30, medium build, fair mustache, wearing a navy jacket and red scarf.
Well, there's a new one.
10 minutes later, she was dead. Constable Edward Watkins found her at 1:44 a.m. in Mitre Square. Her throat was slashed to the spine. Her abdomen opened, intestines drawn over her shoulder. Her face was mutilated, cheeks slashed, eyelids cut. The tip of her nose was removed, and part of her left kidney and uterus were gone. And he didn't do that for the first three.
No, this girl was mutilated.
Things are definitely escalating.
Yes.
Definitely escalating. The precision was chilling. So that's why I wanted you to keep in mind the darkness. The man's doing this in the night, in the dark. He's doing in the dark. Precision.
So he knew where everything was.
And these are not. I was listening to the Morbid podcast, and she is an autopsy. One of them is an autopsy, does autopsies. And she was just going on, and I loved hearing her side of things. I mean, that's what she does. And she's like, it's not like you cut them open and everything's just like
There.
labeled and there. Like it all mushes together. Like it's great. It's how you would have to know how everything lines up. And I mean, her uterus and everything was taken out, fallopian tubes. I mean, everything. It's crazy. And I didn't read through all my notes because I kind of feel bad doing that. But Catherine, so as mentioned, her intestines were drawn out and placed over her right shoulder and were smeared over with some fecal matter. Another section of intestines were placed between her left arm and her body. Near the left side of her neck, shoulder, and upper part of arm, there was clotted blood on the pavement, which sloped, accounting for the blood flow under the right shoulder. This is how she was found. Let's see. 2 flaps of skin from the lower abdomen lay in a large quantity of blood above the left shoulder. Her throat was deeply cut in a jagged manner. The limbs were not very stiff, but rigor mortis was commencing. The throat was deeply severed by a jagged incision which reached right around the neck. The body was cold, but heat remained in the body under the intestines. I think I've read enough.
Yeah.
For poor Catherine.
All she wanted to do was sing her songs.
What was interesting too is another constable said, because she was found in Mitre Square at 1:44, and he made note. He said, "I just walked through Mitre Square at 1:40 and didn't see anything." She had to have probably already been dead, lying there,
She had to have been.
and he didn't see anything, didn't
Or hear anything.
Isn't that
He would have
crazy?
heard something.
Isn't that crazy? And he was baffled, absolutely baffled. It's 4 minutes. So later that morning, a piece of her blood-stained apron was found half a mile away in Goulston Street. Okay. And above it, scrawled in chalk, were the words, "The Jews are the men that will not be blamed for nothing." Now, anti-Semitism was a very big thing right now in London. And don't really know. I'm not going to get into all of this. I don't know what the meaning of that is. I really don't know where to even start with that one. I really don't.
But it was written there, so.
But it was written there. And what I'm frustrated with is that the police, police wanted to erase it right away so that it didn't cause any uproar. And there was even some officers like, well, let's at least cover and tent it so that at least in the morning we can get pictures of it.
And they didn't.
And not just write it down that it was here. We need to get pictures of this. And he had it wiped away. And I get so frustrated with that because at least we could have compared that to these Ripper letters
Yep.
that came in.
And the diaries.
I don't. Oh, that makes me so mad. It was erased before sunrise, and because they were terrified it would spark anti-Jewish riots. I mean, they're trying to keep as much peace as they can, I guess, in Whitechapel. Catherine's murder, paired with Stride's, became known as the double event. One interrupted, one completed. It was the killer's boldest night. And just when London thought it couldn't get worse, it did.
Yeah.
November 9th. So if you remember, the double event happened on September 30th.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is the 9th. So like I said, it's around
Yeah. The same time all the
30th,
time.
and the 31st. I found that interesting. And then he has the double, and then he goes from September 30th to November. So he missed out. So October 8th came around, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, something's going to happen. Something's going to happen. And the letters had already started. We're going to cover the letters. One of them even made mention, like, my next victim will have her ear chopped off, and that did happen.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you can compare it. We'll get into all of this, but yeah, there was a whole, and then October 30th came around and nothing happened. So I think they kind of were like, whew, okay, cool. Maybe this is done. Maybe this wasn't a thing. I don't know. Um, so yeah, then November 9th happens. This is the worst by far. This is Mary Jane Kelly. She is the youngest and in many ways the most mysterious of the victims. She went by many names: Ginger, Fair Emma, Dark Mary, Marie Jeanette. She was Irish by birth, likely from Limerick or County Louth, and moved with her family to Wales as a child. Her father worked in the tin industry. She was educated enough to read and write, which set her apart in Whitechapel. She married young, briefly, then moved to London around 1884. By her early 20s, she was living in lodging houses, drinking heavily, and supporting herself through sex work. So she was beautiful. Absolutely stunning. Long red hair, like gorgeous. Everybody just was stunned by her. And she could sing, and she had this beautiful voice that neighbors would like, somebody singing, but then they would just like enjoy it because it was beautiful. So she is described as kind, lively, even gentle when sober. She dreamed of opening a small dressmaking shop someday. In 1887, she met Joseph Barnett, a fish porter. And I guess he was described as kind of like awkward. And they just kind of connected at a pub. And then they looked at each other and they said, let's move in together.
Yeah.
Let's just help each other out. So they moved in together at 13 Miller's Court. And this was a single room flat off of Dorset Street, the roughest lane in the East End. They lived together over a year, but quarrels over money and her continued sex work drove them apart. He wasn't very happy. She had to continue the sex work, and he didn't like that a lot. So he moved out 2 weeks before her death.
Oh.
So though they still kept in touch, they still visited, and actually, I think I talk about it. But she runs into him the night she's died. She's killed. Yeah. So she gets to, at least she sees a lot, actually. She saw a lot of her friends and people that she knew that night before she died. So I guess.
Really?
Yeah. Mary Jane's final hours were spent drinking in the Britannia pub. The pub is still there. They actually renamed their pub Jack the Ripper Pub. But then they went back.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah. Then she returned home with a man described by witnesses as around 35, dark-haired, wearing a felt hat and dark coat. He carried a small parcel, possibly a sample bag. We don't know.
We don't know.
That was around 11:45 p.m. Yeah. some of the witnesses were saying that one guy in particular is one of her guy friends, one gentleman she knew. Um, the man like really kept his face
Hidden.
hidden, and he kind of found that suspicious. So anyway, around 4 a.m., neighbors heard a faint cry. Oh, murder. That's what they heard. And this isn't some like nice place to live. Like, yes, she had her own room. They had a bed and a fireplace, but the floorboards, it's not very well built. Like the people below could see light above, like the
Oh,
people above could
jeez.
see light below. Like it's just, yeah, kind of sets that picture a little better there. Um, so the neighbors at 4 a.m. hear a faint cry of "Oh, murder," but no one reacted. At 10:45 a.m., Thomas Bauer, assistant to the landlord, knocked on her door to collect overdue rent. No answer. He reached through the broken window pane. So there was a broken window pane on the door to get there. And it had broken 2 weeks ago when her guy moved out. They had gotten into a really big fight and he had broken it. He'd thrown something and it had broken.
Okay.
And so the only way to get into her apartment, because they also had lost their keys.
Oh, jeez.
So to get into the apartment, they would reach through the broken to get in. Okay. And I just, that right there is kind of interesting because you could say that this gentleman that she's bringing home to make her money, um, maybe that was him. Maybe the fact that you could just reach into her little door and get in at any way is the way. But she was the only one killed in private, essentially. She's
Yeah.
in a
But
room.
she's the only one who had a room.
But I'm thinking this was planned because this is the most graphic. This one is the most disturbing. This one has
Horrific.
the
Yes.
most horrific. You've seen the pictures. Everybody, if you, I'm sure you've seen the picture.
I don't know because I only saw it the first time when I was looking for
Oh, it's
research.
like the picture though, and it's horrendous. And I think it was planned because she had a private place. He's not getting disturbed. He's able to do his work or whatever. And
But that's saying he's following these women and he like knows.
I, I wish I could remember who it was, but they say that they saw her kind of greet a man in the street, um, and they kind of like ran into each other, and then they both had a laugh, and they leaned in
Yes.
together, and he had a red scarf as well, which I thought was interesting from one of the
And the
previous.
other ones.
Um, but he had a hat that was tipped over; they couldn't see his face, and he went home with her, and um, that friend saw this happening and was kind of waiting around outside, waiting for this gentleman to leave. So that I think maybe because they wanted to stay, have a place to stay. She would
Oh.
house people a lot. The landlord hated that, but she felt bad. She'd actually have a lot of women come and stay in the room with her, and that's another reason why her partner left is because
A
he was
bunch
like,
of women
this is
hanging
just
out.
not, well, this is just not what he signed up. He's paying for a private place and now he's having to share it. Now we're behind on rent as well. It, and you're doing sex work to have to pay for it. It just wasn't, he wanted to get out of that. But they were still friends. Like I said, they weren't like on
Hmm.
bad terms. Um, but yeah, so I don't know. Was that John? They were jovial when they met. It's almost like they knew each other.
Yeah.
So it's maybe it was just I don't know. He took advantage of the time and
I don't know.
yeah. Um okay. So beware, this is very gruesome. He reached the broken window pane and drew back the curtain, then stumbled into the street, retching. Inside, Mary Jane Kelly's body was mutilated beyond recognition. Her throat cut, her face is totally destroyed.
Yeah. You couldn't, you can, you could hardly identify that as a human being.
Yeah.
And just horrible.
Her body flayed and disemboweled. Organs were arranged on the table beside her. Her heart was missing. and cut out perfectly. I don't understand why he kept a kidney and a heart and an,
Can you say the uterus
a
was missing
uterus.
on one? Yeah.
And I it had to mean something, right? Like, why?
But Kelly's uterus was cut out, but it wasn't missing. It was on
It was
top of her
placed on
chest.
her chest, and her breasts were cut down to the breastplate. One was under her head, one was on like a side table next to her, had some parts. But again, this is all clean cut. This isn't like somebody just went in there and grabbed some stuff and started moving it around. Like it was cut precisely to get
As
each
a
organ.
surgeon,
Yes. Yes. Organs were arranged on the table beside her. Her heart was missing. On the wall above the bed, scrawled in blood, some claimed there were shapes, letters, or symbols, but these reports are very conflicted.
they are.
I don't think that was a. I
I
think
looked
that.
really closely
I think
and
it
I
just
couldn't really see anything. It was like blood splatter
it's
to
blood
me.
splatter. I don't think that doesn't even really fit everything else. I I don't think so. It was the only Ripper murder committed indoors. He'd had time, privacy, and rage. Even the seasoned detectives were shaken. One described the room as, quote, the work of a devil, not a man.
Hmm.
Forensic science was in its infancy, but police tried everything. They were kind of excited, not because of the death, but they were like, oh my gosh, this is an enclosed place. We could seal this off. We can actually do an investigation. We can take pictures. We can get the scene like nobody's going to be stepping over. We have to clean everything up. They thought they actually had a chance at solving this crime. There was a man who was kind of bragging that he had been training bloodhounds. And so they were really excited that they might be able to bring in the bloodhounds. Well, that didn't end up working out. But anyway, it didn't matter. It,
Obviously.
unfortunately, Mary Jane Kelly's murder was the crescendo.
Hmm.
Thank you. After that, the killings stopped. The horror in Miller's Court froze London. Reporters gathered outside, sketch artists filled their notebooks, and crowds lined the narrow lane, craning for a glimpse. Scotland Yard was drowning in tips, letters, theories, anything that might make sense of what had just happened.
Can you imagine the following month, though? People are just like, this happened. Oh my God, it was so horrible. What's going to happen
I
next?
know.
Until finally, months after month after month
It's
after
just,
month. And it was like, oh, he's gone.
mhm. So let's talk a little bit about the letters.
Yeah.
Um, Hundreds of them poured in, of course. It's all signed with like, the Ripper, the Whitechapel
Hmm.
Fiend, the Monster, yours truly. Most were hoaxes.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'll get there. Okay.
There was a lot of hoaxing going
A
on.
lot
It was like
by
crazy.
media, by newspaper reporters. That's I guess it's still happening today, isn't it? The first that caught attention was the Dear Boss letter. Dated September 25th, it read in part, quote, I keep on hearing the police have caught me, but they won't fix me just yet. I am down on whores, and I shan't quit ripping them till I do get buckled. And this one was signed Jack the Ripper, and that's why the
The
name
name.
stuck. Born not from the killer himself, perhaps, but from the journalist's imagination, and a public hungry for sensation. But then weeks later came a second, far more chilling note. And this is the From Hell letter. It arrived at the home of George Lusk, head of the Whitechapel Vigilance Committee. Now, I'm going to back up. The Dear Boss letter, there was two letters that were sent, but they were sent to the media center. So it's not like they were sent to like a specific newspaper, specific news outlet. It was sent to the center. So this is like where the news goes, and then from there everybody reports on it. So keep yeah. So this From Hell letter was sent to George Lusk, who's head of the Whitechapel Vigilance Committee. So these are a group of butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers in the town that form a
Vigilante.
vigilante committee to police aren't doing it, so we're going to do it kind of a thing, because that always works out. And he was the head of this. Okay. George Lusk was. It was postmarked October 16th, 1888. Inside was a small cardboard box. When Lusk opened it, he found half a human kidney preserved in wine and a letter written in crude, almost illiterate scrawl.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to read that. It says, "From hell, Mr. Lusk, sore I send you half the kidney I took from one woman, preserved it for you. The other piece I fried and ate it. It was very nice. I may send you the bloody knife that took it out if you only wait a while longer. Signed, Catch me when you can, Mr. Lusk." So the handwriting was shaky, which again, and obviously I read that and you know what it said, but nothing was like, it was spelled horribly.
Mm-hmm.
Nice was spelled with an S, like it horribly. The handwriting was shaky. This was not a very literate person. And which makes me so mad about that chalk that was wiped
Right.
off because that wasn't spelled right either.
Oh,
And it was very supposedly, I mean, we don't,
who knows?
we don't know, but it was described as being very kind of shakily, I guess. I don't know. But we won't know. Like, we can't compare. I have no idea. The spelling was childlike, but the message was unmistakable. And like I mentioned, Catherine Eddowes was missing a kidney.
Yep.
And I don't know, I forget what it's called, but she's talking about on morbid, the like, it's not intestine, but there's like something that's attached to the kidney that obviously attaches it to the body. And there was 2 inches of it left on the kidney that Lusk got, and there was an inch of that left in her body, which would all line up to it actually matching.
Being hers, yeah.
And she had some kind of ailment, so that would have the diseased kidney of some kind, and I guess that all matched. Like it, a lot of people really think that this is a legit
Yes.
purse.
Yes. I haven't heard anything contrary to that.
There's a lot of people that argue, especially because of the letters themselves. The letters' timing and tone were enough to terrify the entire city. Okay. First of all, I don't know. After what I looked into, I don't know if the Dear Boss letters
Are
real. It doesn't match. They're very well written, and they are humorous, almost like teasy kind of, and then named himself Jack the Ripper. And I guess there's a lot of people that have come out, like newspaper guys and media people from back then that came out and said this was a newspaper guy who wrote this up.
Yeah.
This is not real. And I totally have to agree and that's what makes me think that this one to Mr. Lusk is real. It's not sent to a media place. It's sent to a vigilante committee. And maybe they were actually onto something. Maybe that's why he sent it to them. I don't know. The fact that, yeah, he had a kidney, sure. But that aside, the other ones were saying like, I was going to write this in blood, but it gets all chunky. So I decided to write this in red pen instead. And it's like
newspaper,
it's
audition for a story,
right? And giving him a name. And notice in this letter to Mr. Lusk, he doesn't sign it by giving himself a name, and it's very illiterate. But he cuts so precisely. Is he not a surgeon? Wouldn't he know how to spell these things then? It doesn't
nothing
add
adds
up.
Nothing adds up.
So was it done purposefully to spell things wrong? Like, I was not into this, and now I'm like totally into it. Scotland Yard launched one of the largest investigations in Victorian history. Detectives interviewed more than 2,000 people, checked every slaughterhouse, hospital, and lodging house, and even set plainclothes officers among the street women hoping to lure the killer. They followed doctors, barbers, sailors, and lunatics.
Yeah.
They really thought like it could. There was a whole theory for the longest time that this is somebody that was just had to have been from the insane asylum. And I'm like, this is too sane and too clean to be. Anyway, they sent bloodhounds into alleys. Every theory collided with another. The mad surgeon, the jealous lover, the foreign sailor, the Freemason conspiracy, the royal scandal, none fit completely. and the fog kept its secret. Meanwhile, the reality of Whitechapel barely changed. Thousands still lived on fourpence beds, still queued for gin, still did whatever they had to do for shelter. Respectable society called the murdered women fallen. But the truth was simpler. They'd fallen into poverty, not sin. Each one was human. Marian Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, Mary Jane Kelly. Women who laughed, argued, sang, and tried to survive a city stacked against them. If you walked those streets in 1888, you would have heard the endless hum of life, the hiss of gas lamps, the clop of horses, the shouts from pubs, the smell of roasting chestnuts and sewage and smoke. Somewhere in that noise, for 3 short months, a murderer moved unseen. And when he stopped, London didn't breathe a sigh of relief. It exhaled in exhaustion. The case faded from headlines, but the myth only grew.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, stories are told and untold and changed, and theories. And at the center of all the theories and suspects and sensational letters are 5 women who never asked to be remembered in this way. But of course, no true crime night at the kitchen island here ends there, because the minute you finish talking about the victims, someone always asks the same question. So who do you think did it?
Yep.
He stopped, right? So was this a plan all along? Was 5 a special number for him, or 4? Was that a special number for him? Did that mean something to him that he was like, oh, I'll just do 5 and then I'm done? Some people think that he was locked up in an insane asylum, or
Think he died.
killed
Think
himself,
he
died,
moved
ran
on
off
to
to go
different
do.
country.
Mm-hmm.
And some think actually there's 2 other murders that followed that.
Oh, yeah.
I don't see the similarity except for, I don't know. And they weren't in Whitechapel.
No, they were not. I actually have a list of like 6 women um, that people can argue were a part of this. And they happened like, in December of 88, July of 89. This one happened in 1891. I almost said 1991. This one happened in 1887. So it's
They're all over. Yeah. Some before
yeah.
the Autumn of Terror and then
But
some after.
I mean, how could anybody do such this? I mean, Mary Jane's was just
Horrendous. It was.
horrendous. I mean, absolutely horrendous. And who can walk away from that and just go on back to their lives?
I know there's some sickies out there, but I was just kind of.
So they just stopped though?
I was just appalled, really, that picture was out there.
Oh, yeah.
It
Yeah.
is so gruesome. I mean, I know they have pictures of the axe murder,
Yes.
Lizzie Borden. They have pictures out there
Of her dad.
that are kind of gruesome also, but this is beyond that. This is beyond that. And it was kind of like, I don't know, I felt so sorry for the
Wasn't it so it
victim
seemed
that
so
they were.
disrespectful?
Yes.
Yeah. And that's why I did want to also go into who these women were, a little bit about them, because like we did with the Clutter family murders, it's always just, let's just talk about Jack the Ripper. Let's just talk about Jack. And I just don't think that's very fair.
No, not at all.
These were women and that fell on very hard times and were in a very tough place in life. And in the 1800s, like it's not even like I could not even imagine. I could not even imagine. Mm-mm.
Rough.
Yeah.
Well, as far as theories go, I mean, I don't even know where to start with this because
I know.
I was just like, okay, there's hundreds and hundreds of theories out there, and there have been since 1888. So,
No.
and even today, people are coming up with more and more, and it's just like, okay, sorry, I'm going to limit it. I'm not going
We
to
can make a whole other
go
episode.
through hundreds of them. There have been numerous suspects since 1880, the Autumn of Terror.
Hmm.
And I was like, this happened within 3 months.
Isn't that crazy? I didn't think about that with Jack the Ripper. I just thought, oh, some guy was walking around killing people in London.
And it
But
must have been
this
going
just,
on for years
yeah,
because it was
everybody talks about it all the time. So this is crazy.
three
Well,
months.
3 months.
Yep.
3 months.
The thing with all the theories that are out, though, is there's no consensus.
Mm-mm.
Not among the scientists, not scholars, not experts. There is just no, one person will say, I've got it. I've got it. I've nailed it. I've done this, and here's all the reasons. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, yeah, they make sense. And then there's this other person going, no, that is totally wrong. I don't think we'll ever know.
I mean,
I really honestly.
besides the necks being cut and these women being on hard times, like, what? Well, I don't see any similarities. Do you?
uh, I mean, this guy either had a revenge thing against women.
Yeah,
Did he hate
that's a
women?
theory.
Did he, um, did he have a mother complex and he was going after, maybe his mother was a prostitute and he was going, there's so much. Was he insane?
See, I don't think this was
In
a
insanity.
sexual thing.
Well, that's the thing too. He didn't have sex with any of these.
Yeah, they say that none of the women were raped. I mean, he didn't have time. Um, because their bodies were found so soon after they died. But yeah, I don't think that he was like getting off on this. I don't.
Well, he got off on it,
I mean,
but
in a
he did
sexual
not in
manner.
a sexual. He didn't have sex with the victims. So, shall we start?
I guess.
Okay, I'm going to start with Prince Albert Victor, who was the grandson of Queen Victoria. Now, there are two theories associated with the prince. One is that the Queen's physician, Sir William Gull, was the killer, seeking revenge for the syphilis Prince Albert was succumbing to. Now, he did
Hmm.
succumb to syphilis.
Yes.
It was initially thought that because of the organ removal of the victims, the Ripper was a medical man.
Hmm.
But beside Gull being a physician, there was nothing else linking him to the killings.
He's all the way out there, like all fancy
Then,
and
of course, Prince Albert himself was looked at as a suspect. According to a piece found in Gull's personal papers, one of the patients was, so he, of course, wrote notes on his patients,
sure.
and one was only identified as S. Okay, nothing else but S. He was the heir to power and wealth. Okay, so it kind of lined up with Prince Albert. And S was the
Oh, I
real
guess.
Jack the Ripper.
How
So he just kind of went A, B, C, D, E, and so S was the wealthy guy that was going to inherit all this wealth. Okay, so S was the real Jack the Ripper, but nothing proves that S was indeed Prince Albert.
but he knew who Jack the Ripper was. S is apparently really the Jack the Ripper.
Another thought was that the prince, who was in fact dying of syphilis, was suffering from insanity caused by the disease, having visited the, the prostitutes
An Al Capone.
and perhaps uh, con-
Yes.
contracted syphilis there. The prince was out for revenge. Conclusion. Documents show that Prince Albert was not even close to the area of the killing.
Yeah. I was gonna say,
Not
he's out in
Jack
fancy
the
fantasy
Ripper,
world.
but he comes up all the time.
Oh, he does.
Comes up all the time.
And it's really funny because at the end of this autumn of terror, Queen Victoria actually put out in the media, like, what are you doing out there? Somebody needs to solve this. Even she spoke out on this. I find this crazy.
Well, probably because she's also hearing all this rumor that her,
Yeah. That's true. She wants to put an end to that.
I was like, nix that in the bud. Okay, so another one, and I'm not going to go deep into any of these
No,
because I
it's
could
fine.
spend all night. James Maybrick, he was a successful cotton merchant from Liverpool, England. Victim or suspect? Question mark. While traveling, he met an American woman, Florence Chandler. They married and had two children, but their marriage was not a good one. Boy, that's a theme for tonight.
Oh, yes.
Both had many extramarital relationships. James medicated with arsenic and other drugs.
Wow.
I guess
Yeah.
that was a thing then.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And eventually succumbed to arsenic poisoning 8 years after the marriage. An all-men jury found Florence guilty of the murder.
Of course.
They had absolutely no evidence at all that it was her. Following a re examination of the case, Florence was found innocent of the murder and released from prison in 1904. So she was sent there, and then I think it was like 8 years later, she was released from prison.
Hmm.
So, where does the killer part come in? In 1992, an Englishman, Michael Barrett, claimed to have found James Maybrick's diary. Like I said, diaries pop up here. And within it are clear confessions to be to the five Jack the Ripper murders, plus two others as well, in details of the killing that only the Ripper would know.
How does this guy know that only the Ripper would know?
The author of the diary ends with these words as reported by the Telegraph. So, quote, I give my name that all know of me, to history do tell, what love can do a gentleman born. Yours truly, Jack the Ripper.
But even that seems so
Vague.
romanticized. Like, I don't know.
Could these words refer to the theory that Florence cheated on her husband in Whitechapel and crushed by this, James walked the streets of Whitechapel looking for revenge by killing the five prostitutes? Okay, now also the very last death scene, that's why I was looking really closely at the blood splatter because some say that FM was written up there for Florence for his wife.
Oh.
Yeah. I swear I did not see it, even though
Maybe
I
it was
was
photographed. I don't know.
looking for. No, they made sure that they caught it because they were talking about it.
Okay.
And I don't know. I just didn't see it. But that's why they think it's him because the initials of his wife are up there and he was out for revenge because I guess she.
Okay. Well, that's I mean, even if it's not him, that's a big theory too, is that it's a man that's against sex workers. And I don't know.
So, conclusion. Despite strong beliefs that James Maybrick was Jack the Ripper, mostly because of the diary, others dispute this. For one,
What did he do? Hold on. What did he do for a job? Did you say?
he was a cotton merchant
So
from
he
Liverpool.
so he can cut into people and know where body parts are. And I mean, even if this person, if Jack the Ripper was a butcher, animal parts are different than human parts. You couldn't be so precise even then. Even then. So he does cotton. How does he know anything about a body?
Well, for one thing, the author of the diary never adds his real name into the writings, and two tests on the ink used to write the diary are inconclusive as to the date.
Oh, so this friend who found it could have been like, oh,
Oh, ho, ho, ho.
I'm gonna find Jack the Ripper.
Okay, now here's the big one. This is one that people really latch on to, okay?
Hold on. They didn't actually have a bounty or anything like that for whoever found the Jack the Ripper. They
No,
never said like we will reward you with this because of how
no,
poor
yeah.
everybody was. Everybody would be coming forward saying I know or he is or I am for that money.
I know, but
So I found that fascinating
still,
too.
this guy finding the diaries, he's just like, he would make bank because people would want to buy those diaries, you know. So,
Sure,
yeah.
sure, 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 sure.
Okay, here's the one that a lot of people think it's him, a 23-year-old Polish barber.
Well, barbers were surgeons.
Oh,
I find that crazy. But a barbershop was like the same thing. The barbers were surgeons. Do you not find that so crazy?
I found
You
it.
know your way around a piece of hair. You know your way around a body. I mean, I know I had to learn anatomy at hair school. I guess I'm ready to go.
It's so weird.
Isn't that weird?
So this dude's name is Aaron Kosminski.
Mhm.
He worked in the Whitechapel district in 1888. Initial investigators' notes list the name of Kosminski as a possible suspect,
Mhm.
and recent DNA evidence found on a silk scarf may link Kaminsky to Catherine Eddowes.
Yes.
Okay. One of the murder victims,
But
obviously.
but people have also traced how many people owned that scarf.
Well, that's the thing. Kaminsky was a very unwell man.
Yes.
Since
Mental illness.
1885, or maybe even before, he suffered from hallucinations,
Mhm.
paranoia, and refused to bathe.
Oh,
His
it-
diet, his diet was food dropped by others, and then he'd pick it up from the sidewalk and eat it.
oh,
He found himself in and out of workhouses, and we heard how that went,
yes.
and asylums, as he was finally sent to the Leavesden Asylum in 1894, where he died in 1919 at age 53, weighing 96
Oh,
pounds.
goodness. That's so sad.
So, why is this mentally ill man considered a suspect? Well, in 1914, yes, I didn't say 18, I said
Yeah, I
1914,
was going to correct you.
a DNA test was conducted on the blood and semen evidence found on a shawl belonging to Catherine Eddowes. The DNA closely matched a living relative of Kaminsky.
Yeah.
In 2019, a second study was conducted with the same results. Conclusive, right? Wrong. For one, there is no proof that the shawl was at the murder scene.
Correct.
Two, the shawl was made with really fine material, too fine to be worn by a prostitute at that time. And the shawl was probably made in Russia, which made it more likely to belong to Kosminski, who brought it with him when he lived in Russian-controlled Poland. So that would, of course, his DNA would be on this if it did belong to him.
Well, sure. Yeah.
Okay. So I want to throw something else in here. As you stated, a few weeks after Catherine's murder, a piece of her kidney was sent to the police.
Yes. Yes.
So Kaminsky, with all his mental, issues, and all his picking food up off the ground and eating it. Of course, the letters say he ate half of the kidney, but I don't know.
It's true.
Could he really have the mental fortitude to keep a piece of kidney for weeks and then send it off?
Well, it was kept in wine. Not that that answers your question.
Where's he going to keep it? He has no housing. He has nothing. So where is he going to keep this piece of kidney? And would a man this mentally ill, even think about keeping kidney and sending it?
No.
No, no. He's too sick.
Yeah, I
He's
don't.
too sick.
Well, how sick was he though? Like what?
Well, he kept going in and out of mental institutions.
That's like you heard how hard it was to get housing. Was that his way of getting housing though?
And, well, he was in the workhouses too.
Which is
But I
government.
mean, come on, he was eating, he didn't
Sure, there were a lot of people eating food off the ground because they were
bathe.
hungry.
And then he died at 96 pounds. I mean, even in the institution,
I'm not. I just wonder how sick he was.
I think he was from,
And I would go in a mental institution if I saw Mary Jane as well.
uh, I don't know. I have.
But he was working as a barber, though, no?
He was for a time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think he lost that job because he couldn't, his issues were too great.
Hmm.
Plus, you want to go to a barber who stinks? He wouldn't bathe.
I'm sure a lot. Do you really think that they all smelt clean? You heard they had to sleep on cockroach infested beds. You really think anybody smelt like flowers there, Mom?
This is a barber, though. He has access to water.
Did
Did people go to barbers?
well,
They didn't even have money for a bed. How did
that's
they have
true.
money for a
Well, you have
barber?
sailors coming in, though. I mean, you have.
You do have sailors.
Yes, you do have sailors. Look at that little segue.
You do have sailors. Um, and let's just I'll skip a few and then go back to them because we brought up sailors. So Karl Freigenbaum, a German sailor, executed in 1894 for killing a New York woman, Juliana Hoffman. Her death scene had similarities with Jack the Ripper, the crime scenes. Carl was known to have visited, well, it says brothels, but to have visited sex workers in Whitechapel when his ships were docked at the merchant dock near the area. Interestingly,
I'm wondering because then that's on a schedule.
interestingly, the Norddeutsche line on which ships he worked as a merchant seaman were docked in one or the other of the two merchant docks on the 5 Jack the Ripper murders.
Yeah.
For his crime of killing Juliana Hoffman, he was executed at Sing Sing prison on April 1896.
How similar were they? Like, was it as clean as these other women?
All they said was similar.
Okay.
And right before his execution, he admitted to being Jack the Ripper, according to one of his two lawyers, William S. Lawton. But his other lawyer, Hugh O. Pentecost, thought that if Freigenbaum had really admitted this, it could have been to extend the date of his execution,
Oh,
if he indeed did say that.
sure.
Yes, he did kill Miss Hoffman, but it was hard to believe that he had killed the 5 women in Whitechapel. Many agreed with Pentecost, so much so that the investigation into Freigenbaum's words were not even, nobody even looked into them. So Juliana Hoffman was an older woman. She was like 55. And she lived with her son. Okay, this is in the United States now. So, obviously in New York. So Carl was there and he rented a room from her.
Okay.
And he knew that she had a secret stash of money in this little jar. So they don't know exactly how it happened, but I guess this because the woman was renting this room to make extra money, she was actually sleeping in the living room,
Okay.
and her son was sleeping on a couch at the foot of her bed. Now her son was maybe 12, 13 or so years
Okay.
old. It's thought that maybe the canister was kept in the kitchen. So maybe she heard a noise and she went to the kitchen. She found him and he had a knife, or he grabbed a knife and he started stabbing her and slit her throat. The son saw it, ran out of the house, went to the neighbor. They called the
Oh my
police.
gosh.
And so, Carl said, "Oh no, it was this friend of mine who comes through the window and he stays in my room." But the son totally identified Carl. And no, it wasn't anybody else, but that's how he got caught. And what
But
was
these are like stabs, though. That doesn't even sound.
well,
Besides,
her throat was sliced.
okay, so how many people
No,
have been
exactly.
killed by a sliced
And his
throat?
motivation was to get the money.
Yeah, exactly.
He had motivation
Yes.
and he was caught.
Yes. That's
It isn't
exactly
like he
right.
was out
Okay,
to
that
do
does not
this.
tie.
So
That doesn't make sense. It doesn't
that
make sense to me.
exactly.
I mean, none of this makes sense to me, but you know.
Now here is Montague John Druitt.
Hmm.
And I really, really feel sorry for this guy. So this poor guy really got a bad rap, as far as I'm concerned. He was raised in an upper middle class English home. His father was a well known surgeon.
Oh.
Druitt attended school at Winchester College and the University of Oxford. After graduation, he studied law and became a barrister in 1885.
It's a barrister.
It's a lawyer.
Oh.
Money was tight while studying, and unfortunately, even when becoming a barrister, there were very few people at that time
I'm sure
who
getting
could
to that point. Yeah.
actually afford a lawyer. And it was just like 1 out of 8 barristers actually had clients.
Oh gosh. Wow.
Um, to pick up the slack, Druitt was employed as an assistant schoolmaster at a boarding school. His passion was cricket, and he was really good at it. So he played it when he was little, grew up playing it. He played it in college. He made a name for himself. His team won championships, and after school, he joined cricket clubs and played with many leading players at the time.
Oh.
Okay, so it seems that all was going well until November 30th, 1888. Oh, 88, November
November
30th.
30th. That's exactly, I mean, November 9th is when she was found.
Druitt was let go from his job at the boarding school.
Mm.
Um, we Nobody knows the reason why. It was never,
I bet
never,
he knows why.
ever released. He does, but he took it with him.
He knew why.
In early December, he filled his pockets with rocks and he jumped
Oh,
into the River Thames,
man.
submerging on December 30th, found by a fisherman. So he was underwater for almost a month.
Oh my gosh.
A note found in his room said, "Since Friday," so referring to the day he was fired, because that was on the Friday, "I felt that I was going to be like mother, and the best thing for me to do was die." His mother, she'd been suffering from depression and was institutionalized
Mhm.
in July of that same year. Depression seemed to be run in his family as his grandmother committed suicide, his aunt attempted suicide, and his older sister committed suicide.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
So, why is poor Druitt considered a suspect? Only one reason. The murders stopped on November 9th with the death of Mary Kelly, and Druitt killed himself about a month later.
That's the only reason?
His office was in close proximity to Whitechapel, although there is nothing substantial to say he ever visited or even knew of its existence.
Just because his dad is a surgeon. I mean, my
The, co-
sister isn't a doctor. I don't know crap.
the coroner stated his death was suicide because of a, quote, unsound mind. And his father was a surgeon. Druitt probably watched his father at work and was familiar with anatomy.
Ew, why?
But
Why would you watch it?
I would so do that. But when looking at this evidence, it really is circumstantial. Even the lead investigator, Aber- Aberline, Frederick Aberline, dismissed Druitt as a suspect, seeing the only thing that tied the man to the murder was his suicide shortly after the last murder.
Mm, okay.
But his name again pops
Oh,
up
it pops up
all
everywhere.
the
Yeah.
time, and I feel so bad for him.
Yeah, it pops up. It pops up all the time.
Robert Mann, Mann, was the mortuary keeper at the time of the murders. And really,
Okay.
there isn't much to him being Jack the Ripper. He was a 50-year-old man with a very poor upbringing, both financially and physically. He lived mostly in poorhouses and workhouses. When questioned while on stand during the inquest into Mary Nichols' death, so
Polly.
she was the first
Mm-hmm.
victim, he fell into, quote, fits, and his answers were very unreliable. The way I read into it, Robert Mann was not the brightest tool in the shed and could probably not have done the killings.
Okay.
The one weird thing he did was undress Mary Nichols' body when it was brought to the mortuary.
Yeah, I read that too.
A very unnecessary and strange thing to do. Um, and that was before the coroner arrived or
Yeah,
anybody.
I
I mean,
read that
it
too.
was very unnecessary for him to do this. I- And he was 50 years old. It wasn't like he was a kid. But this is not indicative of him being a killer.
No,
It's just being a really
odd.
weirdo.
Really weirdo.
Yeah, a really weirdo. Okay, I thought that you would find this one interesting and you probably run across it. H. Holmes.
Are you serious?
There's a name we covered in previous podcast,
But then he would have done that back here, though.
but his crimes were in Chicago in the
Yeah.
House of Horror hotel that he
Blah, blah,
built.
blah.
And wasn't he convicted and sentenced to death?
He just dropped down people. Like he didn't
He
cut them,
dropped down people.
drop people down. He didn't cut people open. I just feel
Well, he
like,
did a lot of horrible things to his, but
oh, I'm not minimalizing what he did, but I just think that this was so. This person just had like this passion of cutting and creating
remember
and like,
somebody said he was not, he was a foreigner.
yes,
He
well,
didn't want
sure, that was a
anything.
theory, yeah.
So anyway, there are many people who believe that it was,
They say he's a foreigner, but he could just be covered in coal. I don't know. How do you know?
well, there's a lot of people that believe that another man, not Holmes, was executed in 1896.
Oh, so they didn't execute him, and then he, the
Yes,
actual person. Oh my goodness
and that he did
gracious.
not only reside in the US, but Europe also.
Oh boy.
And being a serial killer, he would have, of course, killed people in
This
Europe
is
or
like that
wherever he was.
lady that they claimed Amelia Earhart was.
According to his great great grandson, Jeff Mudgett, Holmes was Jack the Ripper, if a series of diary entries are to be believed, where Holmes wrote about his involvement in the Whitechapel murders.
Mm-hmm.
Another one of those diaries. Although it is possible that Holmes is Jack the Ripper, it is not probable.
I don't know. I don't know.
Whoever Jack the Ripper is, it's pretty evident that they enjoyed killing and
Yeah.
shedding blood in a most horrendous way,
Yeah.
attacking the sex workers, killing and mutilating them. On the other hand, Holmes, yes, killed people in terrible ways in his Chicago house. Let's not minimalize that. But for the most part, he killed having a motive.
Mm-hmm.
And that was
Money.
added to his swindling options and keeping his
Yeah,
lifestyle safe.
these women weren't carrying like purses with money. Like this
No,
was not a
no, it
financial
was
gain.
all motivated. He
Yeah.
killed people who knew too much or got in his way or couldn't be trusted. But
Sure.
most of his deaths, including the women he killed in
Mm.
his hotel,
Mm-hmm.
was because of money. He got money.
Yeah.
And that totally was not a motive with Jack the Ripper.
No.
Okay, lastly, I thought I'd end with an interesting theory. It was not Jack the Ripper, but instead it was Jill the Ripper.
Jill, I was so hoping that you would go down this path.
The only woman suspect that was suspected by the detective investigating the case was Mary Piercy,
Mm-hmm.
who was hanged in 1890 for killing her lover's wife and child.
Wife and child,
This
yeah.
woman was nuts.
She was crazy.
I mean, she was brutal.
Yeah.
She was living with this guy, and then he started this extramarital affair. But she had many extramarital affairs also. And then he came home, of course, she's a saint according to herself. He came home and said, "Well, I'm not going to marry you now. I'm going to marry this other gal because she's pregnant with my child."
Mm-hmm.
And then he moved out
Yeah.
and married this gal. Well, Mary Piercy did not like this very much at all.
No.
So she decided, well, I'm going to invite the wife and her baby over for tea. Shortly after they arrived, Piercy stabbed the wife and sliced her neck, nearly decapitating her. Then she smothered the baby and tossed it out of the window.
Ugh, sick.
Like I said, brutal. So could she have killed the Ripper's 5 victims? Well, That's the question, isn't it? Physically, yes. She could have, as proven by her killings in 1890. Even the lead detective, Frederick Aberline, included Piercy in his list of suspects.
Mm-hmm.
She definitely stood out. As we know, women usually use poison to kill.
Yep.
Remember Mary Ann Cotton, who
Yep.
murdered 20
That's
people
right.
using arsenic? I covered her in a previous episode also. As most women in her time, Piercy probably had some knowledge of anatomy. Most women did. And that's because they're midwives. They deliver the babies and they knew of anatomy.
Well, not all women were, but that was one of the theories, though, is that a midwife.
A midwife, because she could easily walk down the street with blood on her. She
Well,
could,
sure,
all she can say,
and she
like
knows
the butchers,
anatomy,
she knew anatomy.
but there was no proof or evidence. There was no evidence that any of these women were pregnant. So I don't know why they would have seen a midwife.
No, no, she would have explained why, why do you have blood on you? She would have said, I just delivered a.
No, I understand that, but I'm saying like the midwife theory is just odd to me. Um, I mean, yeah, she would have known anatomy. And well, what was interesting when I mentioned the thumbprint bruises, which is on a few of the women, I guess there's a place that the midwives would press on their necks while women were giving birth that would help numb the pain, like would like knock them out or
Oh,
something like
really?
that. Yeah. And so that's why I found that interesting is because yes, their windpipes were cut so they couldn't scream, but
That is
I don't
interesting.
know.
Let me add another interesting thing to this. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. In 2006, Ian,
2006, 2006.
yeah, that one, 2006, Ian Findlay, an Australian scientist, used DNA techniques testing human saliva cells from the stamps and envelopes sent to the police by the Ripper.
But there were so many.
Well, the ones that had more that were looked into that they assumed was from the Ripper.
So, like the boss ones, those weren't sent to the police.
The kidney one. Yeah, I misspoke. But the kidney one,
Okay.
these that were more authentic, I guess, or
Okay.
okay. So he peeled off the stamps on these things and took the cells from the back of the stamps and scraped them off,
Okay.
as well as the licky thing to seal the
The
envelope.
licky thing, got it.
And so the dried saliva that was on
Sure.
that, he got that off. Um, and hold on to your seats. You ready?
It's female.
His tests could not pinpoint, of course, an exact match, but they did indicate that the cells could have come from a female.
Yeah.
Now,
But
this is not a
that doesn't
direct
prove
fit.
anything. He could have easily been like, "Hey, woman, mail this for me." I don't know.
That's exactly
Have
what I'm going
a
to say.
secretary send it or
His test could have been off. Maybe the Ripper had someone else send his letters, licking the stamps and envelopes.
but,
All in all, although it is wild to think that Jack the Ripper is a female, and a lot of the evidence does support this.
there's no evidence that proves that it's a male.
But
So
once again, evidence is just circumstantial. Yes, Piercy was a horrible woman, but what reason did she have for killing the
yeah, I don't know that
55?
it
I
was
mean, the five rape.
I don't know that it was her, but it could have been a woman. It could have been a woman.
That I just thought that was a really interesting,
Well, sure.
you know, I never thought of that. Um, like I said, I could have covered so many more, but I have to stop somewhere. The truth is, the murders stopped as suddenly as they started. Did the killer die, flee, get caught from some other crime and put in prison? I don't know. I don't think that we're ever going to find who the person is. But I'm sure we're going to hear of some more suspects down the road. But as for now, there's just no consensus
No.
as to the identity of Jack, Jill, the Ripper, and it remains one of the biggest mysteries of the ages.
Yeah. I don't know. I do like the Jill the Ripper idea. I mean, Annie, the victim, she Dark was known as Dark Annie because she would get in fights, and she actually got into a really big fight, like I said, with because she had fresh bruises from days prior with somebody that she was sharing a customer with, and they form feelings, and then
Mm.
this other woman is sleeping with this man, so they would get into fights all the time, and then this was like a big old brawl. But I mean, who's to say that this wasn't another sex worker that was, maybe a midwife, as that was just, I don't, you don't know. I could very well be.
Yeah, it's so weird.
I know because my mind never went there.
No, why
Never
would
went
it?
there.
It's always Jack the Ripper, Jack the
Mm-hmm.
Ripper.
But how interesting would that be? How many minds would be blown with that one?
Oh, it was very fascinating. Like I said, something that's always been kind of, I don't know, the things I've seen, it was
The things I've seen.
clean streets, clean cobble streets. The fog was just kind of,
Well, you just don't picture it as this.
as dismal as it was. And it's just,
I
those
mean,
are the things I've seen, and
I honestly thought I would jump into this and find more similarities between these women where I could pinpoint it and be like, well, okay, obviously he
they
was
victim
after
this and
brunettes,
this.
or, obviously he was after redheads, or
No.
obviously he was after this and that, or he liked that house. No, like I really walked away with like, okay, well, that was fascinating. And I have like a list of books I'm going to start reading. 'Cause it was really interesting.
Well, that's why people have been so into this
It
this case for so many years.
makes sense. It does. Well,
Whoosh. Well, you did good, kid.
all right. That was another good one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Jack the Ripper. It was your idea.
it's fun. It's fun.
It was definitely interesting.
I usually walk away from cases being like, okay, I did it. I'm done. I can kind of close the book on this one. But I actually really want to do more research on this.
Because the case isn't closed.
I don't know that it ever will be. Unfortunately, I think it's just one of those that will.
I know, but you like going down rabbit holes.
I do.
And there's a lot.
There,
There's a
yes,
lot of rabbit holes.
yes.
I mean, who thought Holmes would be even thrown into there? I mean, that is just
Mm,
that's just silly.
I don't know. I like the sailor idea
Hmm. I
because
don't think it was him.
look at the date. No, no, no. But I like that idea that it was could have
Definitely.
been a sailor because they are so routine. They are the 8th or the 9th or the 30th and 31st. So they
And
were
those
there
docks
for
were
some.
right there, and most of the
There's
sailors
some
were
schedule
gonna
to that.
were going to go and visit the sex workers and the bars and stuff, the bars, the pubs,
The bars.
and drink heavily and
Everybody seemed to drink very
oh
heavily,
my gosh.
and marriages did not last.
No.
Well, okay, so you don't make very much money. You don't have very much money, and then you go and you spend it on
Alcohol.
gin. So then you start to resent that person for spending the little money you have on alcohol, and then you fight about it, and then you're both drinking alcohol because
Because you're so unhappy.
drowns your sorrows. It makes you
Hmm.
happy. I mean, a lot of these women were jovial in the last few moments that they were seen alive because they were drunk, and at least again, there's some they were happy and just not happy, but you know what I mean.
They'd forgotten their problems for a
Yeah.
little while, I guess.
Bye, old cock. Like just
And it's
see
so
you later.
sad with her black little new bonnet.
Mm, mm. No, this is definitely not a happy story by any means. There's no happy ending in this one.
But I like how you made the victims
People,
people. Hmm.
thank you. Yeah,
I think it's so important that the victims always get overlooked a lot of the times. And I just, oh, They shouldn't. They should be the main part.
Yeah. And like I said, I feel horrible, but when we were doing this, I was like, okay, yeah, I'll cover the case and da 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 da, but I'll also look into theories so we can just spend all the time on theories. But then I was doing that, I was like, okay, that's not fair.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, the theories are exciting and fun, the rabbit holes, sure, but these women were,
People.
yeah, it's sad.
It is.
And on that note,
And on that note,
cheers to our cherry stems.
can we cheers with an empty glass? Isn't that bad luck?
It's such bad luck.
Well, I have water.
Okay, good for you.
I have a schluck.
A schluck. That's her. That word. It's so
There's a
weird.
Look.
Okay. That's gonna taste gross with the cherry. I have a schluck in here too.
Okay.
An actual drink. Cheers.
Love you, kid.
Love you. I don't say that. I never say that.
Never mind, Mom.
I don't say I love you. Who does that? This has been Killer Hangover Podcast, an original production, written, produced, and designed by yours truly. All of our amazing music that always sends shivers down my spine was thoughtfully crafted by Dangerous Schmidt. And the other thing that gives me those chicken bumps, as we say, is you guys. Big love and huge thanks to all of our listeners. You truly make these hangovers possible. If you liked the episode, do us a favor. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. If you want to get in touch, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Killer Hangover Podcast, or shoot us an email at killerhangoverpodcast@gmail.com. Until next time, stay safe, lock your doors, drink some water for that hangover, and call your mom.